Om Namah Shivaya.
How are you all? Okay, so we can start with the prayers. So we'll do the prayers together. So repeat with me, please. Om Sada Shiva Shankara Charyam
Guru Paramparam.
Om Sahana
Bhavatu
Sahana
Sahana Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamavishwavahai Om Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning.
Om Namah
Namah
Shivaya.
Shivaya. Good morning.
Okay, so we had finished the 36th verse, which is still Arjuna Uvacha. And we can now look at the 37th verse, which is again Arjuna Uvacha only. So we'll chant that. Please unmute yourself. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha
Tasma narha vayam hantum
Tasmanarvahayam
Dhartra Rashtraन् Swabhavan
Ashtan Swabandhavan
Dhartra Rashtraन् Swabandhavan Swajanam hi katham hatva Sukhinah syam madhava. Okay. So I'm just muting you. And look at the words. That first word, tasma narha, has to be broken into three different words. Tasmat, ta with a halant, na plus arha with a visarga. So tasmat na arha, ha, visarga is there. Vayam hantum. Dhartra Rashtran plus Swa Bandhavan. So that word is broken into two. Dhartra Rashtran Swa Bandhavan. Then Swajanam Katham Hatva Sukhinaha Syama Madhava. There is no change there. Now we put them into prose form. So let us see. Tasmat Vayam Hantum. No, sorry. Tasmat Swayam Vayam Swabandhavan. Tasmat Vayam Swabandhavan Dhartra Rashtran Hantum na arhaha. Full stop. Tasmat Vayam Swabandhavan Dhartra Rashtran Hantum na arhaha. Swajanam hi hatva katham. You can supply one word over there in brackets. Katham Vayam, Vayam in brackets. Sukhinaha, Sukhinaha, Syam, He Madhava. Swajanam hi hatva katham Vayam, Sukhinaha, Syam, He Madhava. The Vayam here is being supplied by us to make sense of the whole sentence. Therefore, Tasmat, therefore, Vayam is we, plural, we. Swabandhavan is Swabandhuhu, our own relatives. Swa is our own, Bandhu relatives. Swabandhavan, our own relatives. Who are who? Dhartra Rashtran. They are the sons of Dhritarashtra. So as I said last time, Dhritarashtra Putraha Dhartra Rashtran. The sons of Dhritarashtra are called Dhartra Rashtra. Hantum, no. Hantum na arha. We should not kill them. Arhasi. Arhasi is basically should or ought to. So hantum na arha. We should not kill. Why? Because swajanam hi. They are indeed our own people, our own relatives, our own bandhus. And hatva. Hatva swajanam hi. By killing our own relatives, katham vayam sukhinaha syam. How would we be happy? So in the sloka, you will see that hatva katham sukhinaha syam. So the subject here is vayam, we. Katham vayam sukhinaha syam. How would we be happy? Hey Madhava. Hey Krishna. How would we be happy? This is what is said here. Okay. Now look at the words. We can put them into sentence formations and try to understand. Tasmat, therefore, vayam na arhaha, we should not, hantum dhartra rashtran, kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, swabandhavan, who are our own relatives. So tasmat vayam na hantum arhaha dhartra rashtran swabandhavan. We should not kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, these Kauravas, because they are our own relatives. That is the main sentence. And then the explanation is given. Why should we not kill? Hey Madhava, katham hi syam sukhinaha. Katham hi syam sukhinaha. How can we be happy? So syam here is equivalent of hai. हम खुश कैसे रह सकते हैं? That hai is represented by syam. So katham hi sukhinaha syam. How can we be happy? Hatva swajanam, having killed our own people. This is the sentence formation.
Sir, explain he.
He is indeed. Indeed. It's one of those, parts for emphasis purposes. You'll find plenty of them in the Gita. Why is there? So I'll tell you whenever these participles are there, I'll tell you. Basically, they're only for emphasis. So here it is, the sentence Katham Syam Sokhenaha is correct sentence. Katham Hisyam Sokhenaha is how can indeed we be happy. In Hindi also you can use हम कैसे खुश रह सकते हैं, हम कैसे ही खुश रह सकते, how can we be happy? It's for emphasis of the fact that I cannot be happy. So tasmat, therefore.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you for explanation.
Okay. Tasmat vayam hantum na arha. Therefore, tasmat vayam hantum na arha. We should not kill. Swabandhavan dhartra rashtran, our relatives who are the sons of Dhritarashtra. So this is what is being said by Arjuna. Now, if you analyze this, it's a very simple sentence. We should not kill sons of Dhritarashtra, right? If you analyze this, he has used the word swajanam. Okay, now from that swajanam, you can look at his thinking process. So according to him, this current thinking that he has, there should be two rules, two dharma shastra. When your bandhu, when the relatives commit a crime, there should be one law dealing with them. And when somebody else commits a crime, there should be another law dealing with them. So this is not how the law works, right? The law is uniform. You cannot use one set of principles to judge your relatives, another set of principles to judge other people. So the use of the word swajanam here is indicating that he is having this problem in his thinking, that these are my relatives. And therefore, even if they have been atatai, which we talked about in the earlier verse, even if they have been atatai, how can I punish them? Therefore, it says, Katham sukhenaha syam. How can I indeed lead a happy life? So he's saying here that what is his job? You must understand. What is the job of Arjuna over here? It is to fight for dharma. So by saying that I cannot be happy if I am not able to punish, if I'm asked to punish my relatives, I will not be happy. He is saying that for the sake of my happiness, let us not do what is correct. Let us sacrifice dharma for the sake of happiness. This is the indirect conclusion of Arjuna. Whereas Krishna teaches exactly the opposite. I hope I'm clear. Okay. So this particular verse doesn't require too much explanation. It's simply he's saying that these are my relatives. How can I punish them? And therefore, how can I kill them? And therefore, from that, we have to understand that the attachment is extremely strong. He doesn't want to kill his people, even though they deserve the killing, because they have committed so many crimes and they are now in the opposite army. This is what is being pointed out. Arjuna's confusion, his descent into confusion, into moha, is being pointed out over here. Okay, now we look at verse number 38. So please unmute yourself. We'll chant verse number 38. Yad yap yete na pashyanti. Yad yap yete na pashyanti. Lobo pahata chetasaha. Lobho pahata chetasaha. Kulakshaya kritam dosham. Mitra drohe cha patakam. Kulakshaya kritam dosham. Mitra drohe cha patakam. Okay, I've just muted you all, and we will go ahead with the explanations. So I see there are some new people today, and if you would have missed some of the classes, so at the end of the session, I will be putting up the link for this class in the group, and that link will take you to all the classes. So I will request you to go through all the classes before the next session, so that you are up to date on what has happened. And secondly, those who have not joined the Tattvabodha class, I would urge them to join, because without that, Tattvabodha is basically the essential principles of Vedanta, on the basis of which we explain the Gita. So unless you know Tattvabodha thoroughly, the Gita would not be very intelligible to you. Right now, it is okay. We are in the story part. Not much of Vedanta has come in. So still for another 2, 3, or 4 classes that will be happening. Then afterwards, when we start the actual teachings, you will find that you are not able to follow if you have not got Tattvabodha in your head. So those who have not done, I would urge you to do that. And if you want to, you simply put a message in the group. I will add it to the class. Okay, having said that, now let us look at this verse. Yadyap yetena pashyanti lobho pahata chetasaha. So this is first verse. I would request you all not to unmute your mics because it creates a disturbance in the recordings as well as people cannot hear properly. So yadyap yete, that has to be broken up. Yadi api ete. 3 words have been combined to form that one combined yadyap yete. So yadi api ete na pasyanti, then lobho pahata chetasaha has to be broken up into lobha upahata chetasaha. 3 words. Lobha upahata chetasaha. Then the next word, kulakshaya kritam, has to be broken into kula kshaya kritam. 3 words. Kula kshaya kritam. Dosham is 1 word. Mitra drohe, 2 words. Mitra plus drohe. Patakam is fine. Okay. Now let us look at the Anvaya. Yadi api ete lobha upahata chetasaha kulashayam kritam dosham mitra drohe patakam cha na pashyanti. So yadi api, even if, ete, these. Now the word lobha upahata chetasa is important to understand. Chetasaha is the intellect. Lobha is greed. What is upahataha?
The one which influences.
Upahata literally means overcome. So lobha upahataha chetasaha means that mind which has been overcome by greed. Right? Then kula kshaya kritam. Kritam means having done. Having done what? Kula kshaya, destruction of the family. Dosham means something which is wrong. Mitra drohe. Droham here is in the sense of betrayal. Mitra drohe means betraying a friend. Mitra means friend. Dosham, droham is betraying. So mitra drohe, betraying friends. Patakam. Patakam means a crime, a wrongdoing. Okay. So now let us look at the sentence itself. And I'll just briefly give you the let's try to give you one more anvaya so you can understand. Yeah. Yadi api ete, even if these lobha upahata chetasaha. So, yadi api ete, these people lobha upahata chetasaha, whose minds have been overcome by greed. Na pashyanti dosham, they do not see. Even if these people whose minds are destroyed by greed, na pashyanti dosham, they do not see. Now, ete here means those people. Which people are we talking about?
Kauravas.
Dhritarashtra.
Okay, so when you are reading, when you are understanding, mentally replace these words so you'll immediately understand. Yadi api, even if Kauravas, whose minds are lobha upahata chetasaha, are destroyed by greed or overcome by greed, na pashyanti dosham, they do not see the defect. In what? Mitra drohe, in the betrayal of friends. And because of that, what happens? Kulakshaya kritam, destruction of the kulam, society or family, is being brought about by them. And patakam, they do not see that the wrongdoings which they are doing. Okay. So remember, this is also continued in the next verse. In fact, these two verses, 37 and 38, have to be read together. Anyway, for the time being, we look at this 30th verse only. So just remember the Anvaya, Yadi api ete, even if this Kauravas, the right, Loba upata chetasaha is an adjective for this Kauravas. Those people whose minds have been overcome by greed, na pashyanti dosham mitra drohe, they do not see the defect, the sin in the betrayal of their friends. And because of that, Kulakshay Kritam, the families or society is being destroyed. And Patakam, the adverse result caused by wrong action. So this is also a general adjective covering that betrayal of friends and destruction of society. These are all wrong things he is saying. They are not able to see. So what is Arjuna doing? Arjuna is continuing to justify not getting into the war. Okay, so first of all, he has made the mistake of saying that I don't want to fight. He's sitting on his chariot, remember. It's not that he's doing anything. He's just sitting there and arguing with Krishna. Knowing fully well that he is wrong, but arguing. So, it's like if you talk to a person who's a heavy smoker, and then you tell him that smoking is not good, what will he say? No, smoking creates jobs, There are so many people working in tobacco companies. If people like me and everybody says, I won't smoke, how will the company survive? How many people will lose their jobs? How will their families survive? That's sort of an argument. So the intellect can justify anything. Intellect can justify smoking. It can justify drinking. It can justify all sort of, bad actions. It can justify all sort of evil also. Why is it happening? Because the addiction has become so powerful that it has overcome it. And here, Arjuna is trying to defend his decision of not fighting Duryodhana because he says, they are not really bad people, Krishna. They're all confused only. And because of this confusion only, they are now in the battlefield facing us. And I have this unpleasant job of trying to kill them. So, he has an alternative. He says, hey, Krishna, they are confused, But Krishna, you and I are not confused. We are very clear in our thinking. So, after all, let us not fight this war. Let us just walk off to Rishikesh. And after all, in Hindi we say, Tali ke liye do haath lagte hain. 2 hands are necessary to clap. So even if they are ready to fight because of their confusion, and we say we won't fight and we just go away, war will not take place. And how do I say they are confused? Etena pashyanti. They do not see clearly, Hey Krishna, because their intellect is overpowered, upahataha, suppressed, overpowered. What does Krishna say? Krishna is not saying anything. He is listening, right? And this is, of course, this kind of a description in the Shastra has to be analyzed, understood properly. Krishna is listening. Why? Because this Arjuna is completely emotional. His words and his thoughts are just flowing out of him. And at a time when a person is so emotional, Krishna knows that it is a one-way traffic. But whatever Krishna says will not go into Arjuna's head. Therefore, Krishna does not speak and remains silent. In our own life, how do we apply this? You will find sometimes some maybe husband, wife, daughter, children, friends, they are very upset. And maybe they are going on saying and saying and saying, they're just pouring out their mind. That is not the time to talk to them about Bhagavad Gita. What should you do? You just quietly wait. Wait till the entire, emotions have been poured out. Once the person is calm, then we can try to reason. As long as an emotion is pouring out, there is no point to talk to a person. He is not hearing what you are saying. And even if he hears, he will not understand the intent of your trying to say. So again, this verse is telling us this is how we should also behave. Okay. Then what is the next word? Lobaha. Lobaha is greed. So he says, hey Krishna, the intellect of the buddhi of the Kauravas is not functional. Why? Because they are very greedy. And because of this greed, they do not see what all defects, patakam, dosham, patakam, two words, they do not see what are the defects involved in this war, what are the evils which are going to come out of this war. They do not see, but Krishna, you and I are clear-minded, so we can see. The reasoning is that the war has many, many evil consequences. Why should we contribute to that? And yes, so Arjuna argues that Duryodhana is not really a bad person, he's not an evil person. His mind, his buddhi has been clouded by the lobaha, by the greed. Why? Because greed, just like attachment, greed robs you of your capacity to discriminate between what is right and what is wrong. And some people say this happens only to uneducated people. This is wrong. Greed is as strong, in fact, more strong in the educated. So if you are illiterate or educated, education helps you only to justify your greed. The illiterate person probably will, be greedy and not try to reason it out. But if you have been educated well, your logic will enable you to, muster up some good reasons to justify your greed. But the fact remains that greed is what is driving here. So Arjuna says that Duryodhana is not an evil person. He is being driven by the greed. And then he says, what are the consequences of this war? Kulakshaya kritam dosham. There is an evil consequence, dosham. What is that? Kulakshaya kritam. There will be the destruction of many families. Because when the head of a family, the male is destroyed, he is the only breadwinner. And that is one destruction. And not only that evil, there is another evil involved also. What is there? Mitra doham cha patakam. Many of them in the other army, he's saying many of these Kauravas, they are not just bandhus, they are not just relatives, but they're also mitraha, they're also friends. And what is the job of a friend? The job of a friend is to assist his friend, to help a friend. And here, what am I doing? Instead of protecting my friends in the Kaurava side, I am trying to destroy. So he's saying, hinsa is papam. Harming anybody is a papam. Having a friend who trusts me is a very great sin. Unfortunately, when the mind is so overcome by emotion, that all of us know, right? Usually, even if an intelligent people, when a strong emotion like anger, for example, is raging in us, the intellect cannot fight. The intellect cannot overcome the problem. And you will say all sort of things which you really don't mean at all. And here the problem is, the reverse can also happen. Because the intellect cannot fight this emotion, it tries to justify this emotion later. What is the rule? When you cannot fight the enemy, join the enemy. So the intellect, the buddhi is too weak to fight the anger, to fight the emotion itself. And therefore it says, okay, let me support this emotion. And we say in the scriptures, and we say that this is called the devil quoting scriptures for his own purpose. So he will start quoting from Shastram also. That's what Arjuna is doing. So one can analyze these words of Arjuna. What is he saying? He refers to Kauravas as Swajanam. And what about Duryodhana? If Kauravas are really Swajanam, own people, what about Duryodhana, Were the Pandavas not his own people? That's a flaw in the argument. So Krishna could have pointed this out and said, hey Arjuna, this Swajanam argument of yours is meaningless because the Kauravas do not feel the same way. And therefore, that is not really the problem. The problem is not that in front of you are your own people. The problem is simply of dharma and adharma. This is something which Krishna may have said. So Arjuna seems to have anticipated this objection from Krishna. And therefore, this verse can be taken as some sort of a preemptive answer. Supposing Krishna says this, then what should I answer? So Arjuna is actually talking about the evils of the war. He's talking about the weakness of his mind. So from this verse onwards, that is what is happening. Now we look at the next verse, which is a continuation. So please unmute yourself. Katham nageyam asmabihi.
कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः
Katham nageyam asmabihi.
कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः
Apad asman nivartitum. Papad asman nivartitum. Kulakshaya kritam dosham.
कुलक्षयकृतं दोषम्
Tapashyadbhir janardana. Okay, I muted you again. Now look at the words. So here it is. Asmabihi kulakshaya kritam dosham is a repeat of the last line. We explained that already. Asmabihi. Okay, I'll give the breakup first. Katham na gneyam asmabihi. The gneyam asmabihi broken into gneyam halant below ma plus asmabihi. So katham na gneyam asmabihi. Then that long word, last one, papat ta with a halant plus asmat ta with a halant plus nivartitum. Nivartitum. Then kulakshaya kritam dosham, yes. Then prapashyad bhihi visarga janardana. So second sentence is kulakshaya kritam dosham asmabihi prapashyad bihi asmad papat nivartitum katham gneyam janardana. So jana ardana, we explained that in the last class. What was janardana? So look at the sentences. You put the sentences together and we can understand. Hey janardana. Katham, how? Nageyam, how can it not be known? Asmabihi, by us. So, hey Janardhana, katham nageyam asmabihi, how can we not know? And who are we? That is the adjective. Prapashyat bihi, we are seeing. Prapashyat, we are seeing what? Dosham, we are seeing the defects, the evils, which are caused by what? Kulakshaya kritam, by the destruction of the family. Okay, so Arjuna is now talking about the family. So he says, hey Krishna, how is it that we cannot see. How can that we cannot know? Know what? Because we are seeing the defects caused by the destruction of family. How can we not nivartitum, refrain asmat papat, from this wrong action, from this papam? So the whole sentence will be, He Janardanaha, katham nangeyam asmabihi. Hey Janardana, how can it not be known by us? Prapasyat bihi dosham kulaksha kritam. We who are seeing the defects, the evils caused by destruction of society, how can it not be known by us that nivartitum asmat papat, that we should be able to not engage in this wrong action? What wrong action? Of fighting this war. So from all this argument, now Arjuna has come to this conclusion that fighting this war is not a correct action. It's a papam, he says. Asmat papam. Asmat papam here refers to the battle, which is about to start. Okay, nivartitum means refrain from. And very interesting choice of words. Dosham prapasyat bihi. This is, qualifying the word asmat, us. We are clearly able to see dosham prapasyat. We are clearly able to see all the evils, all the negative consequences caused by kulakshaya, all the destructions of thousands of families. Why? Because all those soldiers in this battle will die. And therefore he says, Hey Krishna, asmat papat nivartum katham nangeyam. Why can we not think katham nangeyam? Why can we not think asmat papat nivartitum, that we should withdraw from such an evil war? So papam here is what? Yuddham, this particular war, which involves kulakshayam, destruction of families. And therefore, now he is put forward his argument and is saying, Krishna, my proposal is that we should just turn our back and walk away. And he's seeking Krishna's support for this war. Okay. And Krishna here is, of course, sitting like Brahman, not doing anything, neither accepting nor rejecting. Again, this is simple extension of what I said in the earlier verse. Unless the other person is in a receptive mood, unless he has finished, unburdening himself of all his emotions, until his mind has quietened down, there is no use in giving any advice. That is why when you talk to a child, the child is shouting and screaming and crying, don't give advice. Just let it go. Once he has come down to a relatively quieter state of mind, then only you can give advice. So in the Shastram, there is a word used for talking to people who are not receptive. It is called vanarodhanam, like crying in a forest. Rodhanam is crying, vanam is forest. So whenever we talk to people, we should ensure that vanarodhanam is not happening. We are talking to people only when they are receptive. Okay, now he continues with in the same topic. Arjuna is continuing the same topic. So we will look at verse number 40. Kulakshaye pranashyanti.
Kulakshaye pranashyanti.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
Adharmo bhivavatyut.
Adharmo
Okay, so I'm muting her again. And we will look at the 40th verse now. The meanings of the verse.
39th.
Have you missed 39?
This is 39.
We just finished 39.
We have finished it.
This
right?
This is 40.
Yeah. We finished the 39.
Okay. So Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharmaha sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhavatyut. So Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharmaha sanatanaha. So kula dharmaha, that is a visarga. Sanatanaha, that is a visarga. Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam. Then there is a inverted S over there. What is the name for that figure?
Avagraha.
Avagraha. What does it
Avagraha.
indicate?
Silent.
It is indicates that the has been
Silent.
swallowed. So you have to, when that is sandhi, so when you break it, it becomes adharmaha abhibhavati. So that abhibhavat yuta, that's to be broken into two words. Abhibhavati plus uta. So adharmaha abhibhavati utaha. So uta again is a participle indicating emphasis. Indeed. So he, hai, who, all these are participles. Uta is also a participle. It's indicating emphasis. So the Anvaya now. Kulakshaye sanatanaha kula dharmaha pranashyanti, comma. Kulakshaye sanatanaha kula dharmaha pranashyanti, comma. Dharme nashte adharmaha kritsnam kulam abhibhavati uta. Kritsnam kulam abhibhavati. Abhibhavati, not abhibhavati uta. So he's saying, Kulakshaye, when the family is destroyed, what happens? Sanatanaha kuladharmaha. Sanatanaha is ancient. Kuladharma is family traditions, dharmas of the family. Sanatanaha kuladharmaha pranashyanti. Okay. Kulakshaye, when family is destroyed, Sanatanaha kuladharmaha pranashyanti. The ancient traditions of the family are destroyed. That is one statement. Then dharme nashte. So you have to connect this dharma to kula dharma. Dharme nashte means kula dharme nashte. When the family traditions are destroyed, what happens? Adharmaha, corruption. Not exactly corruption. Adharma, it's not dharma. Evil things. Kritsnam kulam. Kritsnam means entire, complete. Kulam is family. Kritsnam kulam abhibhavati. Abhibhavati means overwhelms, overpowers. And therefore, dharme nashte, kula dharme nashte, when the kula dharma is destroyed, kritsnam kulam adharmaha abhibhavati. The entire family is overtaken by adharma utaha, indeed. Abhibhavati utaha. The entire family becomes prey to adharma. Adharma takes over the entire family. Okay. Now we'll try to do it in another format. Kulakshaye sanatanaha. When the family is destroyed, kuladharmaha pranashyanti. The family traditions are also destroyed. dharme nashte adharmaha abhibhavati kritsnam kulam utaha. Same thing. When the family traditions are destroyed, adharma will overtake the entire family. So now Arjuna is giving a very ingenious, strong argument. And this has its basis in the Indian culture. So what is the basis of Hindu culture? You will find that in other societies, the religion revolves around institutions. You will find, for example, the church is a very important part of Christianity. But Arjuna here is saying that the very basis of Hinduism is what? It is the kulam, it is the family. So he's saying that without family life, dharma cannot grow, dharma cannot be protected. Our culture, spirituality is all, the foundation is what? It is the family life. Whether it is religion, culture, or spirituality, all these things are found only in a society where there are stable, long-lasting families. And in India, at least for several hundred, at least for even today, in fact, none of us really understand the importance of family. Why? Because we've not felt its absence. All of us have got very strong families, very deeply rooted families. And any of you who has worked outside, who has been outside, you would know that the family structure is not very strong over there. They meet once in a way, but the strong bonds which you find in India, which bind you to your family, it's not there. Of course, now even in India, family life is breaking down, and therefore gradually people are beginning to understand the adverse consequences. If you look at children today, 90% of problems are what? Because they did not have a stable family background. And therefore our scriptures give a lot of importance to healthy family life. And we say that knowledge of Dharma Shastra has to be understood as actually prevailing at the family level. It's like you say, I want to protect musicians, or I want to protect music. You can't protect music if you don't protect the musicians, right? There is no music without the musician. Protecting the instruments will give you nothing. You have to protect the person who plays the music. Then only music can flourish. And here also in Dharma, if you want to protect Sanatana Dharma, that Dharma does not lie in the temples. That Dharma does not lie in the matams as they call it. That Dharma lies in the hearts of the people, in the minds of the people. And therefore, if you want to protect Dharma, you have to protect the people. And people means you're talking about the families. You have to protect the kulam. A stable family is required for dharmic growth, for religious growth. Then only the culture will be strong. And it has always been the case in India that dharma has been transmitted from parents to children. This is the traditional method of transmission. And that is why it's called Kula Dharma. And those of you who have been lucky enough to have, grandmothers or great-grandmothers, you will know that there was a time when every evening they would call you there and they would talk to you about, say, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana. That was the traditional method of transmission. That's why it's called Kula Dharma. And Arjuna is therefore arguing that this war will result in the destruction of the family. The destruction of the family means the very mode of transmission of dharma will stop because families will get destroyed. And therefore he says, Kula dharme kulakshaye pranashyanti. When the families are destroyed, the method of transmission also gets destroyed. And when the method of transmission gets destroyed, what will happen is that dharma will no longer be transmitted to the children. The children will have no knowledge of dharma. And what is the immediate consequence of knowledge of dharma not being there? Adharma abhibhavati. A life in which importance is given to artha kama only. That is called adharma. So it's not necessary that you should become a killer, or you should become a thief or a robber to be adharmic. A life in which your predominant activity is artha kama only. Money and security and desire. When your life is only this, when pleasure becomes the most important thing in life, then you will find that for that sake of money and pleasure, other values become unimportant to you. This is called a materialistic lifestyle. Though this materialistic lifestyle is what is referred to here as adharma. Artha kama pradhana lifestyle. And therefore he says, adharmaha abhibhavati. Adharma will overtake us. Okay. I'll stop here in case you have any questions.
Acharya ji, what is the root of the word pranashyanti?
Pranashyanti is from the word pran, your prana goes.
So we are not using the na here, we are using the other na. Nashyati.
Nashyati.
Is the,
It can be nashyati
that,
also.
that is a normal na.
That is a normal na.
Yeah. So this is a sandhi.
It's basically you can call it a root, derived from the root. The root is actually, if you want to know, it's pra plus nash. So
Okay.
lat kartari actually.
So the ra and the na become the ana.
The haya. So
Okay.
pra plus nash. I don't go too much into this because as it is, very few are what they call rooted in Sanskrit. So it's better not to. We are trying to give you the broad meaning. If you want to go into the Sanskrit part of it, I mean, this Bhagavad Gita will last.
No, the
for
word
10,
just
20.
caught my attention because of the different na here.
No, it's pra plus nash. It's a lat kartari.
Yeah. Okay.
Since you are familiar with what do you call it, Sanskrit.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody?
Raviji, I have a question.
Yes, please.
There's also a Gita for children which we can buy and keep, which they, whenever they are ready, they can, read.
There are many small things, but for children, basically, it will be a story. So I don't think you should try to explain Gita to a child. It's better to have the Mahabharata and read out the story. See, the entire Gita is expanded in the Mahabharata, right? Whatever is being told in the Gita is also there in the Mahabharata. So by way of stories, you can tell.
Okay, fine.
And incidentally, we are trying to start a class. I don't know, it'll still take some time because the girl who's doing it is not yet ready. She's busy with something else. A class for children, basically, dharmic values. So it still might take a few months to go, but once it starts off, you guys can get your kids onto that. It'll be a very basic class talking about basics of Hinduism in story form, essentially. So that's good for children.
Wow, that would be great, Acharya.
Yes, that will be great. Thank you.
Take some time, but so we have a small group of teachers, as you know by now. So we're trying to propagate as much as possible within the constraints of time which we have. Okay, any questions so far? Because there are only 5 minutes left. I don't think we can take another verse.
Acharya, so
Yeah.
the Pataka, Mitra Droha Patakam is actually, he is telling that they are committing a sin.
No.
It's not that by killing we are committing a sin.
Yes, he's saying that if we try to kill them, it's a destruction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can look at it in two ways. There are two interpretations. One is that Duryodhana does not know that Mitra Droham is bad. Because by attacking us, he is actually betraying us. So he does not know it is bad. That is because of his confusion. The other way is that by killing them, we are doing Mitra Droham.
Okay.
So either way, what is most important is what is being displayed here is the confusion.
Hmm.
That's important. He is now in the grip of moha.
Okay. Thank you.
Raviji, this word Sanatanaha, it means ancient.
Sanatanaha means ancient.
Okay, and the thing we refer to as Sanatana Dharma, it means ancient traditions.
Sanatana Dharma means the ancient Dharma. And Sanatana can be taken as eternal also. This ancient in the sense of always having been there. That kind of ancient. Not the ancient which started long ago. You see, there's a big difference. Something can be old, which has got a beginning. But something which is old, which has always been there, is also old. So that kind of Sanatana. Why Sanatana? Because in every Srishti, this Dharma has always been there. It is not that it has come in only this Srishti. All the previous Srishtis also it is there. And therefore Sanatana.
रवि जी,
Yeah.
हमारे धर्म को सनातन धर्म बोलते हैं.
Sanatana Dharma is Hinduism. Hinduism is not the name which is there in the scriptures anywhere. The name in the scriptures is Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism has been, when the Muslim invaders came in, they found the settlement around the river Sindhu, which is now in Pakistan. That settlement around the river Sindhu were the people who were practicing Sanatana Dharma. And they couldn't say Sindhu very clearly, especially the English. So they became Hindu.
So
there is no such thing as Hindu. It's referring to Sindhu basically, the river around which the settlement was there earlier.
So my question was कि सनातन धर्म जो हम बोलते हैं कि सनातन धर्म वो इसी the meaning there is same as coming from immortal times.
Yeah, but it's correct because the Vedas have been there always. Sanatana Dharma is the teachings of the Vedas. And since the Vedas have always been there, that is called Sanatana Dharma.
It's very nice to know that.
Yeah. So what is the exact meaning of Kula? I think some of the South Indian languages, Kula is like a caste type.
No. Kulam is a family.
Family. Okay.
Family unit is called Kula.
Okay. Thank you.
It's Hindi word also, no? Kis kul ke ho bhaiya?
Okay.
Not very commonly used, but yes.
Kutumb would be the same. Kutumb or biradri. Kutumb, I think.
They're all, words which have the same meaning.
Yeah, same generic.
Same generic.
No, also Raghukul is also said, no? Raghukul. That is Raghukul.
That is the whole, what you call. See, the word family, word family here is not your individual 2-unit family. Family here means the entire clan, basically.
कुल देवता भी बोलते हैं ना, कुल देवता की पूजा करते हैं.
Kul Devata means everybody belonging, all the ancestors traceable in your family, all your, that is the Kul. So Raghuvanshi means traceable from Raghu, that from that particular person downwards, which is the entire family of Ramayana, that thing.
Acharya, can you suggest any book like Mahabharata stories, like or the direct Mahabharata we can read to our kids?
I think I put in the group some time back.
Okay, not aware.
I will. Does somebody have the which I put? I think it
Yes,
was.
yes, I'll forward
Yes,
that.
Can you
it
just
was there
repost
in
that?
the WhatsApp group.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, just repost that in the group because we had kept some 2 or 3 good books and plus the source also for purchasing.
Okay, thank you.
Raviji, I have a query. I mean, so here we've discussed this earlier that because of the Varna system, it is clear that Arjuna's dharma as a Kshatriya is to fight against adharma.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to today, when there is no Varna system, so the decision of what is dharma to me and to what extent am I supposed to compromise my family, my Sanatan family or family members, to what extent do I compromise my dharma against, say, some wrong actions by family members? Now, that decision, will we be able to come to that decision once we have read the Gita fully? I mean,
See,
I hope my
Varnashrama Dharma
question is clear.
Varnashrama Dharma is basically Vaidika Dharma. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's called Dharma because in the Vedas you have a division of various Varnas and Ashramas. So you have 4 Ashramas and 4 Varnas. And in each ashrama, a particular Varna has a particular division of duty. Like in a Grihastha ashrama, the Brahmana may have some duties. In a Grihastha ashrama, the Kshatriya may have some duties. But in Sannyasi ashrama, somebody else may have some other duties.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those divisions of duties are no longer there.
Right.
Because you don't go by those anymore.
Right.
The thing is that can you broadly classify a Kshatriya, a Brahmana? Those are all very deep discussions, okay, and they happen in the Gita also. But as far as your question is concerned, I don't understand what you mean by compromise.
No, when I say so today, so going back, if Arjuna was a Brahman, then he had to train people, and that is it. He did not have to face this morality issue where
Correct.
should he fight or should not.
Correct.
And okay, even then, the dharma of a Kshatriya is clear. So, I mean, I'm sure Krishna tells him that in the rest of Gita. But today, when every varna is inside an individual.
No. Supposing, for example, you join the army.
No, suppose I am not talking about actual battling it out.
No,
I am
just
saying.
I'm saying the same thing only. Let us say that you join an army. What is your duty?
Then the duty is clear. But as an individual, is my duty clear to my family members? So suppose my family.
Your duties always arise out of your positioning in life.
Yes.
Your role that you are playing at that moment.
Right.
So when you say that, you are in a family, let us assume that you are married. What is your duty as a wife? And as a mother? And as a daughter? And as a daughter-in-law?
So suppose as a mother, I am doing my duties, but I also see that my children are not doing the right thing. They are not in the right path. So I go to dialogue. I go to certain things. Now, where do I decide that I am no longer going to be with my child if now this is adharma which I should not take?
As long as the child is not major, I don't think you can wash your hands off.
So suppose he becomes a major. Now, but again, if I am letting him go, I am letting go of my Sanatan family.
No,
dharma.
you are not. Once your duty as a mother's duty is always up to the time the child becomes an adult. After that is independent. After that you try to make him do what you want, you are in the wrong. All the culture, all the values should have been given before that.
Yeah, but should I be with him when I feel that it is adharma, or should I not be with him?
Be with him means what? As an adult, where is the question of him being with you? He's on his own, no?
Yeah.
You can at the most lend some support if he asks.
She means supporting him in his activity or
You can't support. You have no duty to support him once you have made him capable of earning.
So if I feel that I should not support anymore because my ideals do not match, then I'm not in the Adharma.
Even if your ideas do match, why should you support him if he's adult?
No, support is not always financial.
Okay, emotional support.
Emotional, social,
Yeah, it's very difficult to lay down a general law for all that. You have to know the specifics of the case.
That means you are not opposing something which is doing. Like, for example, Draupadi's Shirharan was happening and everybody was silent. So they were silently supporting Duryodhan and his brother.
You can take it as that, or you can take it as that they didn't have the guts to oppose their elder brother, which is itself
So
wrong.
it is, yeah, I agree. That is how the support is extended in terms of the action and being silent or being vocal. Sometimes you do it vocally.
You have a duty to speak out what is wrong.
Yeah.
So definitely. But if after that your child tells you, no, I'm going to do what I want, then you can say, okay, fine, do what you want. Don't come to me.
Sir, but actually fighting also is ahimsa, right? So in that point in time, wasn't ahimsa created by this war?
Yeah, it was. So?
Is
Who
ahimsa
has told you
also...
that ahimsa is not okay? It's always conditional. You all remember the thing, what Gandhiji used to propound. What did he say? What was Gandhiji's famous words?
Ahimsa paramo dharma.
Ahimsa paramo dharma. That is only
But it's
half.
incomplete.
It's an incomplete sentence. The rest of it is hinsa tathaivacha. Hinsa is also dharma.
Hinsa tathaivacha.
That's a quote from the Mahabharata itself, but it's true. Hinsa is as much a dharma when it is necessary as ahimsa is when it is not. So, for a pacifist, the Gita will be very harsh. In fact, all Sanatana Dharma is harsh because it says that you should not stand for nonsense. You should not be walked over.
Okay.
Okay. So with this, we'll close for the day. Thank you so much. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om
Hari Om Tat Sat.
Om
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much, guys.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
रवि जी,
Yeah.
मेरी एक प्रार्थना है कि जो आप प्रार्थनाएं बोलते हैं शुरू में और अंत में, वो मैं कहाँ देख सकती हूँ संस्कृत में लिखी हुई?
Can somebody? I have given that. Somebody
लेखा
post
जी
it.
मैं आपको दे दूंगी, लेखा जी मैं आपको दे दूंगी।
ओके, ठीक है।
Thank you. Om.
ग्रुप में डाल दें तो अच्छा है।
हाँ जी।
हाँ जरूर जरूर ऐसा करूंगी।